Hey professionals, here I'm going to be showing you how to track captions onto footage. But this isn't going to be just a step-by-step tutorial because I've seen countless editors waste hours trying to make it work only to realize that it was impossible to begin with. So this video is going to be into two parts. One where I show you what to look out for if you can't do it so you don't spend hours trying aimlessly to do something. And then two, if you do have it, how do you do it? So let's get into that. Here we have this gameplay footage and there's two specific moments where we're tracking captions onto a character. Interestingly, one of them works and one of them didn't. So this one here is the footage that works. You can see it tracks on pretty smoothly, pretty nicely. It looks really good. If we have a look at this one over here, I wasn't able to track it and I had to do it manually, and it's kind of got this floatiness over the character. It doesn't feel like it's stuck on. So let's just go into why this one failed. If we go inside here, inside a Fusion composition, we can click on the main media here and add a tracking node. Here we specifically want a planar tracker. This is generally speaking the best one in Resolve. And then in here we want to set this to hybrid point area, translation, and then draw around what we want to track. I'm just going to do a rough little thing here. And then once we're happy, we can just hit set and hit frame forward. And you see it does an okay job right here. So that's not a problem at all. But if we go backwards, it stops. And then we can basically just move these around a little bit and then set another keyframe and give it another go. But it stops again. And that's because the computer doesn't understand what to do. So what's happening here is there's not enough detail and contrast for it to find points to track onto. So you can see here all these little green dots. These are, if you notice, always usually high contrast areas. Now, when there isn't enough of them, it just won't work. And you're going to get this a lot in gameplay footage because a lot of the colors end up looking very similar, unlike real life footage where light and colors is all messy and gritty and detailed. That's the first thing to understand, is that if there's just not enough color, contrast, and details, you're not going to get a good result out of it. And if you get to this kind of situation and you can see that's what's in your footage, I just recommend stopping here and doing a manual transform track. It doesn't look as nice, but it's basically the best way you can go at this point. But moving on, why did the other one work? So if we come over here and we have a look at this, and my teammate here is thankfully wearing some nice red armor. And what this means is that in the planar tracker, I'm able to choose red. So you can choose between red, green, blue, or Luma, which basically stands for brightness. The reason why they do red, green, and blue is that these are the three dominant colors that camera technology uses to capture color. So because there was a red, you can see here I was able to get a really nice track onto it. So let's just show how I did this. First thing we need to do is add a planar tracker to the exactly in front of our footage. And then we can go in here and change the settings like so. And then we need to make sure we change this track channel to red and not Luma, because otherwise it will not work because there is not enough contrast in the actual subject itself for to pick up on details, but there is enough red. So here we can now find a nice little middle point, create a little silhouette and hit track. Hit set and go backwards. And just like that, we've got there, and then we can just go forward here. Sometimes it will glitch out when the silhouettes change. That's okay. We can figure out where it got stuck. So right here. So what we can do here is just delete these keyframes and then move this one back up to here. I just extend this little point out here so it's got more details to latch onto. And that'll work right there. So now we've got ourselves a nice little tracker. We can hit create planar transform. And if we have a look here, we've got this text right here. And then if we see what we've done, we've basically positioned it on top by adding the little planar tracker to it. Maybe you just got to adjust this transform a little bit to make it nicely neat up. And we've got some nicely tracked captions onto the character. All right, so now you might be asking the question, how do we go about tracking on multiple captions at once? If we go through all these texts here, we got 1, 2, and 3, we'd have to go inside each one, create a Fusion composition, do the tracking. Then we've got to make sure it lines up with the next one. It gets very complicated and time consuming and not worth it at all. So here's the best option to go there. What I start recommending with is duplicating your text. I just hold Alt and drag up. And then I right click and turn this into a compound clip. So then what I recommend is also duplicating your footage. Just because the way Fusion works, it can get a little weird with timing everything. So if you just duplicate your footage, turn that into a compound clip as well, we can now go inside this compound clip 6, and we can also grab compound clip 5, which we just created, and then we can merge these together. And now you'll see we have the footage in here, and now we can just apply the track to this one clip, and it applies to all the text that we've compounded together. So that's just a little hack for doing lots of them at once. And basically, this is what I ended up with. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and until next time, I'll catch you around.